At the last round, the V8 Utes got wild out west.
Oh, there's touch. Bang, there's a mirror. Smash. Oh, banging door panels everywhere.
And the kid took control of the championship, letting it all slide out. Ryle Harris, your race winner. Now we head north to a place where he's staked his claim before. But at the top end, things can easily get turned upside down.
Oh, he keeps going. Flips it on his lid.
Hi everyone and welcome to Hidden Valley Raceway in Darwin. It's round 3 today of the Auto 1 V8 Ute Series, protected by Armour All. Now this is a track that always delivers in V8 Ute racing. 3 of the 4 closest ever race finishes have unfolded here at this circuit. And again in 2013 we have a championship fight on our hands. 24 points covers the top 5 drivers after 2 rounds of 8 for this season. This weekend too, David Cedars, last round winner at Barbagallo in Perth, he has special reason to perform. He swapped his number this weekend from number 8 to number 7. It's all in tribute to the late Rodney Crick, the 5-time Australian Super Truck champion. But to win here this weekend, he's going to have to go through the man who beat him to this round victory last year and indeed to the 2012 championship, Ryle Harris. And he's a man in good form lately.
Another round, another championship leader as the sleeping giant Ryle Harris emerges from the pack. Although he's the defending series champion, it's taken him 6 outings to clinch his first race win of the year, race 3 in Perth. Adding further fuel to his form, he won the Darwin round last year and is a big fan of the 4-race format and getting the most out of worn tyres.
I love that the cars go off, everything's faded. You know, you've got to really manhandle them around and you've got to have a lot of finesse with your right foot, and that seems to be, if I've got anything good going for me, that seems to be my good thing. On the data, I'm really smooth on my throttle application. So obviously in race 4 here in a very hot conditions when your tyres are going right off, I love it. You know, I'm back feeling confident, back winning races, and that's what I'll be doing for the rest of the year.
Nathan Pretty must be rueing his bad luck. After claiming the early championship lead, his Holden suffered engine dramas in Perth, putting his title hopes on ice for now.
Unfortunately, it's broken a valve spring, which has dropped a valve then and damaged the engine first lap of qualifying. So I qualified dead last in Perth. Right here, 2 rounds down, I've got the bookends, the fastest and the slowest time. So now we just need to get back to the front, and we've got a fresh engine back in it again and just have to press on pretty hard now.
Rhys McNally came of age in Perth. A stunning performance sees this quiet achiever leap to second in the championship, a career best.
This year, you know, we've come back with a new attitude. We're a lot more aggressive. We know what we need to do. We're pushing hard, and so far, so good. So, yeah, it's probably taken a few people by surprise, but, you know, we've always been just on that edge, and I think we've now finally just, you know, cracked that little bit of extra pace and found that key just to jump us up those few extra spots.
Among this year's frontrunners is a seasoned campaigner, Gary Baxter, who's equal third with the Perth round winner, David Cedars. And the series rookies and young guns are also putting on a feisty show, serving it up to one another and their rivals with impressive results. Elliot Barber and Jesse Dixon are 7th and 8th in the championship, Adam Marjoram 12th.
You've got the experienced guys like Kim Jane, Nathan Pretty, and those guys you've got to be a bit conservative, because if you give them a bump, you're most likely going to be in the sand the next lap. So some of the guys you can go conservative with, most of the other guys you can sort of have a bit of a crack at and race quite hard with. But there are some of the old dogs out there that you've got to be a little bit more courteous to, I suppose.
There's definitely a tricky balance. You know, you're the new guy, so you don't want to be pushed around. You've got to stand your ground, but you also don't want to seem like the arrogant new guy that they're going to push back. So it's a nice balance, but we're going all right.
I think the rookies have done very well this year. I think that we didn't quite expect to be as quick as we are. Any one of us rookies to get right up there in the top 3 podium for one of the races in the year, I think would be a fantastic result, whether it be me or the other rookies. So that, I think, would be a dream come true for some people, yeah.
Also set to add some spice into the weekend is super sub Chris Pither. The former series champion is filling in for an injured Tony Longhurst. With 4 races to be run and won in the heat of the top end, it will be a true battle of the fittest in this Holden versus Ford V8 Ute showdown.
Time to check out the NZ Drivers' Championship, and I've got to tell you, it's oh so close after that last round in Perth. Ryle Harris just 7 points up on Rhys McNally. David Cedars and Chucky Baxter very close together. Nathan Pretty slipping away from his championship lead after Adelaide. Armor pole position winner, Chris Pither, the Kiwi, back in the series and straight to number one, $1,000 for his efforts. Fantastic work from the 2011 champ, a one-off meeting for him this weekend. Time to gear up and send this big field out onto the grid. Auto 1 V8 Utes protected by Armor All right here in Hidden Valley. It's a perfect mix and we got 4 big races coming our way. Yes, hello, this is Darwin's Hidden Valley Raceway. The Auto 1 V8 Utes protected by Armor All are heading out to the grid. I've got James Moffat alongside me for this one. They just love their Utes up here.
They certainly do, and I think we're going to catch some highlights of race one, and it was action aplenty as always in the V8 Utes.
4 races for these guys this weekend. Very tough stuff. Have a look at this. 3 wide, the run down to turn 1. As you'd expect with the big long front straight, and these guys wanted to get busy from the get-go. That's Pither on the inside, and he went toe-to-toe the whole way through turn 1, just squeezing David Cedars out wide, getting a bit of racing room.
But it was Cedars that was able to hold on around the outside of turn 1 and take the lead into turn 5. Have a look at Kim Jane now, trying to slide up the inside of Pither, and good, close side-by-side racing in the Utes.
Have a look at this for some aggressive blocking. Jesse Dixon way late. Look out. Oh, Chucky Baxter there was getting so close to the back of Nathan Pretty. They both run off the track. This is the onboard view from the Heyman Reese car.
Very lucky that Dixon didn't take out Nathan Pretty in that Milwaukee Ute. And Dixon had further problems later on in the race. Here running wide at turns at 11, and it's not a good race for him.
Not the best way to start off the weekend for the rookie. This was the battle for the lead, and in fact the pass for the lead. Pither up the inside of Cedars, and I think Cedars, knowing that this isn't really a championship battle here, because Pither's just a one-off driver for the weekend, so wise move. How about this? Baxter up the inside of McLeod. The slightest of touches. Dontis had to take evasive action. This is what it looked like from the inside. You can barely see that they touch him off, but it was enough to send McLeod around.
Very low grip conditions here at Darwin, and they weren't the only ones in trouble. Jack Elsgood, Spudwood, and Danny Buzadzik coming off at turn 1.
Yeah, that's the usual kind of carnage that we expect out of the Utes when they come to Darwin. How about this one? This year, well, one of the rookies from this year, turning around last year's Rookie of the Year. Walton goes flying off onto the infield. And this is why. Marjoram ran wide into turn 5, so Walton says, OK, I'll have a look at the inside. Whack, there's the first hit. And, yeah, Marjoram wasn't going to have any of it. He'd actually get a 5-spot grid penalty for firing the Renko Ute off just there.
But it was all Chris Pither. He comfortably led the field to the checkered flag for race 1. So great start of the weekend for Pither on his return to the series.
Super impressive. The 2011 champion caught a red-eye flight in last minute, subbing in for Tony Longhurst, and took pole, took the race win. David Cedars quite happy to take second position there. But the bad news for those two is that they're going to have to go all the way back to row 9 for the reverse grid race. 18 cars reversed for the reverse grid stuff. So Moff, they're going to be very, very busy.
Always a great reward for having a race win to get sent to the back of the field, or not quite to the back of the field, but starting off 18th will be tough work for those guys.
Yeah, Glenn McNally alongside with Jared McLeod, they'll be off the front row, and this is where we can expect to see all the fast guys. Kim Jane, Roll Harris, your series leader, Cedars and Pither, and, well, the guys that didn't quite make the reverse, they're off the back in this 31 cars that we'll be taking to race number 2, our reverse grid race. Okay, set for a start. Hidden Valley. Auto 1 Utes protected by Armor All. It's McNally, Glenn McNally alongside Jared McLeod. Red lights on. The long run to the first corner. Great start from McLeod. McNally missed it badly, and he's getting absolutely hounded. Walton's on the outside of him. He's going to get relegated from the front row back a good 4 or 5 spots. On board with Dontis. Hold your breath. Oh, you hate to be on the outside here. Cops the first hit. Hang on. 4 or 5 get by. And a few rocks in his face as well, Moff.
Well, what a great start from Jared McLeod. He did everything he needed to do to get off the line nice and clearly. He leads the field into turn 5. Watch for plenty of action into here and into the hairpin on this first lap. We saw Dontis getting beat up at turn 1. Have a look at Chris Walton, former Rookie of the Year, trying to go around the outside now, turn 6, the hairpin. That's not going to work for him.
Stephen White up the inside. He's going to be on the outside for this big long sweeper, turn 7. A little bit of a touch. Jeremy Gray's going to get pushed out wide. Oh, cop one more and he's off. Gray goes spinning away and just touches up the tyre barrier.
So Walton already in the thick of things. Gray in the tyre barrier. He should be able to get out of there. Doesn't look like there'll be too much damage, but problems
Peter
here.
Burnett. He's going to park the back in the gravel. That's why it's there. Hopefully he's going to get this thing moving. He just missed the tyres. Peter Burnett. Let's see if we can get this thing out, though, because as soon as you gas it, that's when it's going to start to bury itself. Back at the front, though. Jared McLeod, perfect first lap. Walton's up the inside, this big, long, over a kilometre-long straight.
So plenty of action already in lap 1 of this reverse grid race. Looks like Baxter having a look up the inside. We saw him having troubles into turn 1 with Jesse Dixon in race 1. This time, looks like he's going to be able to get through turn 1 with no dramas at all. But Peter Burnett, he's not going anywhere. He's stuck in the sand trap at turns 10 and 11. And I dare say we might see a safety car.
Well, they're going to keep racing at the moment. We'll see what the outcome is. And I think that's it. Yep, safety car, whoops. A couple people saw it before the others. And thankfully, we have managed to avoid contact between Walton and I think that might have been Stephen White. Okay, on board. Let's see what happened first to Jeremy Gray. Up the inside at turn 5, just the slightest of taps, and then finished the job, Walton. That's a scary spot to go flying off.
Yeah, so it's a second bit of contact there with Walton. He was probably up the inside and probably just didn't give Jeremy Gray quite enough room on the exit, and they had front to rear contact, and that sent Gray off. But here's Burnett, and this is the reason why we have the safety car. He's just out in the marbles, no grip out there, and even less grip in the sand trap.
So our Petters STP safety car is out and controlling the field. Jared McLeod, your race leader so far from Ben Dunn. We've still got plenty to run here. The Auto 1 V8 Utes, protected by Armour All, up here in Darwin. Welcome back to Darwin's Hidden Valley Raceway. The safety car just controlling the field for the Auto 1 V8 Utes, protected by Armour All. I think the Petters STP safety car needs a bit of protection as he goes diving for the pit lane. We're just about to go green once more. Jared McLeod to lead the field from Ben Dunn, Stephen White and Chris Walton.
So safety cars can often breed safety cars, Chad. Big long run into turn 1. McLeod defending his line from Ben Dunn. Have a look at Chris Walton trying to sneak around the outside of Stephen White in that Dunlop Super Dealers ute.
A little bit of contact. Let's see how they slot through. Auto 1 on board. Whoops, look out. Bang. Up the back of Elliot Barber. That goes Craig Dontas. And Roll Harris was the big beneficiary there. He picked up, I think, 3 or 4 in that one corner. He's on a charge.
Oh, so Barber now trying to sneak back up the inside of Dontas at turn 5. Looked like he might have missed a gear coming out of turn 1. And that gave Dontas the opportunity to get a run on him. But McLeod still leading the field. But look at Roll Harris, he is picking them off.
He said before this race that he'd be happy to finish anywhere in the top 7 or 8, and already he's up, I think, in about 6th or 7th position there. So he is flying through this field. Looking back from Craig Dontas, that's Elliot Barber behind him.
Great section of the track this, Chad, through turns 10 and 11. Really important to keep, I guess, the momentum of the car up, or the V8 Ute. And look at Barber, he's going to have a look up the inside in the last corner. Difficult passing opportunity, but it looks like Dontas has given him a bit of room, saw him coming, and now it's just going to be a big drag race between the Ford and the Holden down the long front straight here at Darwin.
Man, aggressive stuff this from the rookie. Long wait. Who's going to be first on the brakes? Nephew of former NASCAR racer Marshall Brewer. So let's see. Yeah, he just takes control of that one. And Reece McNally says, okay, I'll get a part of this. Kim Jane's going to be at the inside as well. Craig Dontas is going to lose 3 or 4 spots here.
So McLeod still doing a great job out front. He's now got Stephen White behind him in that Dunlop Super Dealers Holden.
Here comes Harris.
Look at the reigning champion up the inside of Ben Dunn. So Harris, he is on an absolute charge all the way from 16th to 4th in 6 laps. Can you believe it?
Andrew Fisher, that's Adam Marjoram on the outside. Another one of these rookies who's really trying to come up through the field. Had a 5-spot grid penalty for slipping Chris Walton off the track. He'll have the inside track position up through 7.
And I think that penalty was probably fair, having seen the incident. Really no need for Adam to hang on the outside there. He'd made a mistake, so sometimes you just got to concede and get on with it. But still plenty of action back in the pack. Jesse Dixon in the thick of things. He's got the lights on. He's, of course, charging from the back after a horrid first race. Looks like he's got a bit of damage to the back of that ute. Yeah, the rear bumper's dragging along, so hopefully the officials don't see a need to pull him into pit lane to address that issue. But wherever you look in this reverse grid race, there's plenty of action going on.
Not bad from Dixon. Off the back of the grid, he's up to 18th already here on lap 7, so flying around. This is the battle for the lead. Jared McLeod is defending as hard as he can, but he's got the Rookie of the Year from last year around the outside. We know how aggressive Walton is. He's going to have to give him some racing room here. Through the S's.
What a move by Walton. He's gone from 3rd to 1st. Oh, they're into it. He's got it all locked up. Can he pull it up? He manages to stop it for the corner, so fantastic move from Walton. We know he's aggressive, but look at White now. He's trying to sneak up the inside of McLeod. So McLeod from 1st to 3rd, 4th maybe even in the space of a few corners. And Harris, he's been able to sneak through and sitting nicely in 3rd now.
Well, this has just worked out perfectly for Raul Harris. Everyone around him's bluing, and he's just picking them off one by one. But Chris Walton, he is out the front at the moment and looking very strong. Stephen White, what a weekend for him. Former Holden Young Lion from back in 1997. Had a crack at racing away overseas, trying to make the F1 thing happen in the 90s as the boys back it up through 10 and 11. Bit of damage on the front of Elliot Barber's ute. And we send him back down the front straight once more, halfway through this race here in Hidden Valley. And the championship leader, Raul Harris, is on a charge, up to 3rd.
He's done a fantastic job so far. Have a look at all these guys just hugging the inside wall down the straight. Definitely a bit of a freight train.
Walton, this is not what you need to do to your tyres, let alone lose the lead of the race, but maybe 2 flat spots to those fronts, I reckon.
Well, he's definitely given it up at turn 1, so Stephen White finds himself in the lead now. And look at Raul Harris just sitting pretty in 2nd spot. He'll be very happy with his progress in this race. Or a little bit of a lock-up into turn 5, so he doesn't want to do too much of that, but he definitely looks like he has speed on board that tap-out Falcon.
Will he block? Will he defend? He leaves the door open. Harris locks it up and goes crashing into the door of Stephen White. White will have the position into turn 7, and I think maybe Harris thought, I don't want to go risking this one. He might just give him that spot back.
Yeah, probably not a bad move there by Raul. It was a bit marginal, that move into the hairpin, so better just to back it off, slip back behind Stephen White. And, you know, he's still got 6 laps to set him up for a pass, so the way he's been able to charge through the field, I think it's only a matter of time before he can find his way past White. Rare Spares replay of this huge lock-up into turn 1 by a race leader, Chris Walton, and there'll be a couple of big flat spots on the front of those Yokohamas.
Still plenty to come from Darwin. This is the Auto 1 V8 Utes, protected by Armour All. Auto 1 V8 Utes protected by Armour All. And how about this? The battle for the lead rages on in Darwin. Raul Harris up the inside, but he's not going to get it done here. James Moffat, this could be a time-certain race, so he's running out of laps.
Yeah, he has to be careful about that, Ryle, but have a look at all the action further back. Nobody has really been able to get a bit of a break in this race, apart from the front 2. Harris has done a great job to get up all the way from 16th to 2nd in this reverse grid race. And he's definitely putting a lot of pressure on our race leader, Stephen White.
He is filling these mirrors right now. White's doing a great job. The side skirt hanging off, the number plate hanging off for Harris. These two have been in the wars. I suppose you kind of have to if you're going to come from the 8th row on the grid to be up into 2nd. Looking back now off the back of Chris Walton.
Trouble here for McLeod. He goes around. Looks like he might have got a bit of assistance there, and Andrew Fisher comes along and finishes him off. So disappointing way to finish the race for both those guys. Andrew Fisher busily trying to get the car started again, but look at McLeod.
Oh, he started.
Oh, and plenty of coolant down there at the hairpin, so going to have to be careful for that.
I think that was Spud Wood who nearly came flying up the back of him. There is plenty of coolant there.
Yeah, and Fisher's done for the day, so that's where that cooler will be coming from, the front of that Jesus Falcon. But have a look at this. Who's into the back of him?
Ben Dunn was right up behind him.
Yep, and lucky that not more cars got caught up. And look at poor old Andrew Fisher, just nowhere to go. I know what that feels like, Chad. It's not a very good feeling, A, to be stuck in the middle of the field like Jared was, but also Andrew having nowhere to go. And along he comes and...
Surprise. That is exactly what it looks like when the seas part in front of you. And I suppose you could call it man versus ute, not man versus wild, but he's pulled off for this one, and a lot of work for the Jesus Racing boys.
But back up the front, still Stephen White holding his own, so he's doing a great job so far.
Watch the coolant, straight through it. These Yokohama tyres, you don't want to buzz them too much, especially the back of such a slow corner. Look how busy it is. Still working our way through it. Whack up the back for the third time. We see Dontis up the back of Elliot Barber now.
Reece McNally making a nice move up the field as well in that Stratco Commodore. He, of course, coming off his best ever round result at his home event in Perth, so he's continuing the good form that we saw from him in Perth, but back on board now with Dontis in the Auto 1 onboard camera. Oh, a bit of action ahead of us.
That was the Auto 1 ute being pushed out wide. Adam Marjoram, one of our rookies. Another Perth racer, just flicking up some of the stones. 1.1 Ks, this long front straight. Is this a chance to slightly relax?
Well, under normal circumstances, yeah, absolutely. But in this reverse grid race, with all the action that's going on, it doesn't look like you're getting much of a chance at all.
Kim Jane keeping it on all four wheels through turn one, unlike last year. He's moved up to third position now. Great result for him. He had a shocker in Adelaide. Started to claw his way back into it in Perth, and this is better stuff from the assassin Kim Jane, a Melbourne man in the famous Bob Jane T-Mart's colours. Ben Dunn still busy at the wheel, and now Reece McNally's going to slip on by. He's got Chucky Baxter behind him as well. Tight stuff through turn 5.
Great move by McNally there. Not easy to go around the outside at turn 5, but he was able to do it. But change for the lead. Our reigning champion has managed to find a way past Stephen White. So all the way from 16th to the lead in this reverse grid race. What an effort by Rail Harris.
That's putting your hand up for the SS Inductions hard charger, but I think Jesse Dixon's also staking his claim for that. He's passed about half the field in this one. Let's see how it worked. He just let the back go through turn 5. He finally succumbed to the pressure.
Yeah, easy to do, especially late in the race as the tyres are getting on. And that's one thing we should talk about, Chad. 4 races this weekend, so the guys have to be conservative on their tyres, and a bit of tyre management will come into play, particularly in race 4 of the weekend. But Rail Harris, he's managed his tyres perfectly. We're on the final lap now. So can he hold on for a fantastic race 2 victory?
That's David Cedars up the inside of Baxter. He's done quite well. He's managed to find himself up into the top 10 now, considering that he started off the 9th row after a solid second position in that first race. Marjoram. And I think that was Barber as well. So 2 rookies now having a go at each other. And Dontis and Barber, this has gone on the whole race. Auto 1 on board through the S's. Hang on.
Oh, have a look at the front of Barber's thing. There's plenty hanging off it. So he's been in the wars throughout the whole race. Hasn't been afraid to use the bumper, that's for sure.
These two have been banging panels the whole way. And this is good stuff from Elliot Barber. Only a young fella, 22, 23 years old, I think. So we're getting a lot of experience. Nathan Pretty on the outside, so he's going to try and pick up 1 or 2. Jesse Dixon, as well as... He's come through half the field in this one, through turn 7. Final lap, and these guys have got a lot to figure out yet. Nathan Pretty, your round 1 winner. Had a shocker in Perth when they had that valve spring issue, and he's rubbing panels with Dontis. Dixon up the inside. A handful of corners remain. But at the front, Rail Harris, cool as you like, just ticked his way through from 16th position. Stephen White, fantastic job, a personal best for him, and these boys are still arguing. Dixon rubbing panels with Pretty and Dontis. This is the battle for 12th, believe it or not. They're still arguing over it. Dontis gets there from Pretty and Dixon. That was tight stuff. Jesse Dixon, a sure thing for the SS Inductions hard charger. Here's your top 10. Harris with a great race win. Stephen White, a personal best, along with Kim Jane, his best result of the year. But Kylie Kings with Rail Harris.
Rail Harris, you start on 16th on the grid. How did you do that?
I don't know. It was a dream run. Obviously, a couple of guys fell off in front of me, but we had 1 new tyre on the front of the car. A bit of a tactic this weekend, but the car was great. I charged through on the first lap, got about 5 on the first lap. There was a safety car on the restart. I got another 4, and then just picked them off one by one. It was great.
As if the action during the races isn't enough, there's been another twist added to the series this year, a new qualifying format.
Well, it was designed to liven up qualifying a bit and put a bit more tyre strategy to qualifying as well. So we've pretty much adopted the Formula One style of qualifying, where we've split quali into 3 different segments. And after the first 10 minutes, we drop off the slowest 12 utes. We then have another 7 minutes where we drop off the next slowest 10 utes. And then the final segment is 5 minutes for the top 10 shootout. And basically they'll get 1 or 2 flying laps in, and that's about it. It brings in a lot of tyre strategy, because the guys that do all 3 qualifying segments then have less tyres to use in the final race than the guys that perhaps come out of the first or second segment. So it plays the strategy all the way through from qualifying right through to the final race over the weekend.
Everyone has to come up with new ideas on when to put their lap times in and when to back off and conserve the tyre wear.
It's like a top 10 shootout virtually. You've got to go out and do 1 lap and do it in 1 lap. So that puts the pressure on a little bit, and if I can remain cool and calm in the car, we'll be fine and it'll suit us. But when I get a little bit stressed, it makes it a little bit harder.
For us that have been in it for 11, 12 years, it just added a new element to it and gave us some new things to think about. So, yeah, I like it.
It's hoped the new format will also see drivers who didn't make the cut work their way through the field during races armed with fresher rubber.
Where we've come from utes now, we're not just chasing seconds a lap, we're down to kind of hundredths and in some cases thousandths of a second a lap between Ford and Holden. It really is intense, and of course 2 or 3 tenths of a second can make really the difference between first on the grid or 10th on the grid.
For more info, head to the V8 Utes website.
Well, qualifying is one thing and racing here in Darwin is another, and so far this weekend it has been wild. The good news is there's still plenty more to come.
You're watching the Auto One V8 Ute Series, protected by Armour All. This round we profile Melbourne driver Jared McLeod from the McMahon Mining Team.
When I'm not racing V8 Utes, I started my career professionally as a V8 supercar mechanic and engineer. So I've done that for about 8 years. So I'm always doing something either with other V8 supercar teams. I do a lot of driver training with the different companies around Australia. Memorable incident. In my rookie year, twice last year, I was turned around and ended up facing the oncoming traffic. It happened at Bathurst, and it also happened at Barbagallo last year. So they were quite memorable, frightening at the same time.
Jared McLeod there. He's had another wild weekend, being turned around twice already, but a personal best in qualifying. Okay, cars are heading out now for the 4th and final race. Moff, let's check out some highlights from race 3.
And again, the big long run into turn 1. But check out Elliot Barber. He made it 4 wide at one stage into turn 1. And somehow they managed to get through. But have a look in the background. One man that didn't get through was Danny Bezadzik. Massive contact with the guardrail. And that ute is out for the rest of the weekend. We've got some great onboard footage coming up. So Wayne Wakefield on the right there, he's clearly in trouble. So Bezadzik trying to go around the outside, but really put him in a position for something like this to happen with Wakefield being in trouble again. We get to see some footage from Chucky Baxter. So Wakefield's probably got a tyre going down or something, and just not enough room at that part of the circuit. And have a look at that. But check this out from Gary Baxter. Plucks the gear, presses on, I'm all good. So, yeah, big damage to the guardrail and a tough way for Danny Bezadzik to finish his weekend.
It certainly was. It was a lengthy delay, but when we got back to racing, Raul Harris was at the front of the field. He was being pushed all the way by Kim Jane. I reckon if Jane had a few more laps to work with here, he might have been able to take the lead. But Raul Harris taking his 2nd win for the weekend. He's just in killer form now. Stephen White home for 3rd, which is a great result for him as well. Another podium finish, at least in the racing sense. And Elliot Barber, the rookie, killing it so far. Another good weekend. David Seeders in the top 5, and Jack Elsgood rounding out the top 10. So that is how they look after 3 races. The points from all those 3 races sort out the grid for the 4th and final race.
So no surprise that Raul Harris, our reigning series champion, he'll go from pole position in this final race. Kim Jane alongside him. David Sears and Stephen White will start from row 2.
Reece McNally continuing his strong form from Perth is up there as well. Further back down the list, Adam Mardram, Andrew Fisher, they've been in the wars this weekend. Cam Wilson having a good result so far. Another one of our rookies, Jared McLeod, just going from bad to worse as well for him as well because, down in 21st for this start. So, bit of work to do. Jesse Dixon passed a lot of cars in race 2. Wonder if he can do that again. And good to see Spud Wood off the back of the grid as well, one of the local HQ boys.
So here we are getting set for the 4th and final race of the weekend. And if the first 3 are anything to go by, we should be set for a great race.
So Raul Harris looking good on top of the points. This is as they stand at the moment. Cedars has taken second from McNally. Pretty just sneaking back into the top 4. He did lead the championship at one point. Conceders saved some points. He's starting directly behind the championship leader. The man he's chasing, red lights. The long run into turn 1 for the final time in Darwin begins right now, and a great start for Kim Jane.
Looked like Elliot Barber was a bit eager off the line there. Maybe jumped the start, so we have to wait and see what happens with that. But it's Harris and Kim Jane on the run into turn 1. Great start by Jane, but I think it's going to be Harris who can slide up the inside. Have a look at this, Jesse Dixon.
Century Batteries on board. He was going very, very late in turn 1. Managed to get that thing pulled up. So far, so good as we slot our way through turn 1, the run up through the S's. It's Harris from Jane. Cedars in 3rd position. He needs to get a few more spots back up. So they jam on the brakes up into turn 5. Oh, no! Huge accident!
Oh, we got a car over.
It's Spud Wood, and Peter Burnett as well has had a massive hit. It looks like he's collected the tyres. This is a serious moment. It was the run up from turn 2 into the S's.
So definitely a safety car, Chad, if not a red flag. But have a look at both those cars. Massive amount of damage. And Spud Wood, well, welcome to V8 Utes, Spud.
Yeah, we'll have to wait.
Not the way you want to
kick it off.
Kick it off, that's for sure. But yeah, Petter's STP safety car out. No surprise about that. And I'm sure we'll get to see a replay of what happened. Have a look at all the tyres from that earth embankment.
Including one foreign Yokohama that's managed to find its way in there. That shouldn't be there. Well, that's Peter Burnett. He's out of his car. Spud Wood's out of his car. That's great. Local racer. He just puts his hand up, says, I'm okay. That was wild. His Williams Race Tech ute was upside down there at one point. Let's see if we can pick apart what happened here. These guys were at the back of the grid, so that's where all the actions happened. Bit of dust going up, Moff, so it's a little bit difficult to see where everyone is. And
Oh, here we go. So looks like Peter Burnett gets a shot from behind, sends him into the tyre barrier, and then, have a look at that. We're not quite sure what happened with Spud Wood. He came in to frame already on his roof, but this might give us a better...
Yeah, this is Jesse Dixon, Century Batteries on board time. He's in behind Cam Wilson, and there goes Burnett.
Oh, and he's lucky to get through that.
I actually ducked my head then when I saw that piece of debris flying towards him. So watch the back. There goes Burnett flying off. Whammo. Back end comes around, front end in, rips the whole tray off the back of the car. And I think for Spud Wood, he was just trying to avoid all the carnage in front of him. Probably tripped over those tyres that were already out on the racetrack as well.
So another angle here. This is Peter Burnett. Oh, hard hit.
He's actually really lucky that no one collected him straight away.
And I think you're right with Spud Wood. He was just trying to avoid it. Got hooked in those tyres. And this is a section of track that has always in the past provided plenty of action. Just the wrong sort of action that Peter Burnett wanted to see. That's nasty indeed. So lots of damage to both those utes. But fortunately, both drivers, we saw them walk away, and that's the main thing. You can fix cars, but you can't fix people.
Well, I'm not sure if that one's going to be fixable because that is a lot of damage, but that's all right. We'll get out there and clean up the racetrack. A good chance now to assess the damage, assess this field. We've got plenty more racing in this final race of the weekend. It's the Auto 1 V8 Utes, protected by Armour All. The Auto 1 V8 Utes, protected by Armour All in Darwin, and they need some protection this weekend because the racing has been wild. The racetrack is clean and ready to go. Raul Harris, your race leader. The safety car will be pulling in this lap, and we don't really know how much time we're going to have out there for this one, so you want to get your move done early.
Absolutely, and restarts are always a good chance to do that. Look at Kim Jane. He's got plenty of experience of restarts from his NASCAR racing background at the Thunderdome, so if there's anybody that should get a good restart, it should be Kimbo. But Raul Harris, he's got the field under control, leads them across the line.
I'll tell you what, Cedar's got a pretty good restart out of third. He might be in a position where he can put some pressure on Kim Jane. He looks up the inside, the run to turn 1. Hard on those brakes, and he's managed to sneak up the inside, but Kim Jane, he's racy. The assassin will try and slide it on the outside and hold on.
And we've seen a couple of guys go around the outside at turn 1 this weekend, but we've got more trouble back in the pack. Jesse Dixon, his weekend goes from bad to worse. It looks like Jeremy Gray caught up in that as well at turn 1. So not the restart those guys were hoping for. And Cedars was able to get that pass done on Kim Jane, so important move for the championship.
A bit more stuff to sort out through turn 5. Hard on the brakes into turn 6. Reece McNally slots in behind Stephen White. He's having a killer weekend so far. Jockey Baxter's losing a few points towards the back, and Andrew Fisher, who had a DNF early this weekend as well.
So that's been a pretty good recovery for Fisher and the Jesus Falcon, and him and Baxter, two of the series' most experienced racers. They're going at it through turn 7.
Jack Elsgood in there behind them as well. Here is the Heyman Reese car of Jesse Dixon, and he actually drove the truck all the way up to Darwin from Sydney this weekend. Here we go. Let's have a look at a replay. This is him going very, very late. Oh, and absolutely clouts Jeremy Gray into turn 1. Cam Wilson was trying to just keep his nose clean of all this.
So on board with Dixon, and really having seen that, what was he thinking? Absolutely no chance of pulling that car up, and Jeremy Gray was the innocent bystander and all that. Now Jack Elsgood troubles under brakes into turn 1, narrowly misses the back of Andrew Fisher. He's going to run wide and lose several positions out of that. So the 4th and final race, their boys are definitely getting stuck in. But Ryle Harris, our championship leader, he's certainly showing them the way at the moment. But Cedars looks like he's got some good speed on board. That number 7 Falcon, obviously running that number in tribute to the late, great Rodney Crick.
6-time Super Truck champion. A bit bigger than the Utes, the Super Trucks. And they certainly had their time in the sun back in the 90s. A great series, and Rodney Crick was a great truck driver. So paying tribute with the number 7 and the Captain Kangaroo nickname this weekend. And he would love a win to honour the memory of Rodney Crick. Ryle Harris is going to make his Ute as wide as possible.
Certainly not a strange sight to see these two guys at the front of a V8 Ute field. They, of course, went for the championship together last year, and it was Ryle Harris that came out on top to the final round. But look at him, he's going defensive already down the front straight, so he knows he's got his work cut out for him in this 4th and final race.
Kim Jane sitting in 3rd, and Pither just falling off the back of them at the moment. I wonder if his tyres are starting to go off. It's been a long one, but there has been a few safety car periods here this weekend, so maybe the tyre degradation has been quite as bad as they thought it would be. Hugging that inside line and making sure there's no chance of the switchback. That's some pretty good defensive driving.
Yeah, and have a look at Kim Jane. He's ranging up on the back of the 2 leaders now. But on board with Craig Donis and the Thirsty Camel Commodore, chasing down Reece McNally. Another solid weekend from McNally and the Stratco Commodore. So good weekend for points in his championship assault.
This is the battle at the front, just pinching one of those tyres. I think it might have been the left front on the entrance to turn 6. A bit further back, there's a bit more pushing and shoving going on. Chucky Baxter's in the middle of it. So we worked this big field through, 31 cars this weekend, but it slowly got tinkered away, especially after a couple of huge accidents that we've seen, especially in race 3 and 4. Okay, here we go. Chris Walton now working away at the back of Cam Wilson.
And it's been a quiet weekend for Walton by his standards. We saw him caught up in a bit of action in race 1 and 2. And have a look at Wilson. The back of that Ute is all over the place through turns 10 and 11.
Vogue Financial on board. You can see just how wild these Utes do get when the tyres start to go off. You've got no weight in the back as it is. He's going to try and get that run into turn 1. This is your battle pack at the front. Harris, once again, being very defensive. He's got good reason to win here this weekend outside of the championship. The CEO of Hardcore Beverages, which is the parent company to Tap Out Energy, watching him here this weekend, and there's nothing better than winning in front of the sponsors.
Yeah, absolutely. So a bit of extra incentive there for Ryle, and of course he's coming off the round win here last year, so we know he's quick around Darwin, and it was a similar scenario with these two going at it in the 4th and final race last year. So they're providing great entertainment up the front of the field, and Pither now coming on strong in what is usually Tony Longhurst's Commodore, and he has a bit of a look up the inside into the hairpin. Kim Jane gives him a bit of room.
You can see how wild these things are starting to get already when these Yokohamas go off towards the end of race 4. At the end of the weekend, it's wild stuff, and that's exactly the way I think that Ryle Harris likes to drive these cars. Once again, here we go. SS Induction's on board with Pither. He's in 4th position, winner of race 1, your pole man for the weekend. He got off the plane midnight pretty much Friday, came to the track, was quick in practice, puts the car on pole, takes a race win. The only man to win both the V8 Ute Series in New Zealand and Australia, so he's got the yards and got the runs on the board.
He's certainly starting to work over the back of that Bob Jane T-Mart's Ute, that's for sure. He's got the lights on, so he means business. Can he find a way past Kim Jane? He's going to have a look into turn 1 this time, but Kimbo very deep on the brakes. So Pither just can't find a way past on this occasion.
The final lap this time by, so the race has been shortened, time certain, because we did lose a few laps behind the safety car with the big accident. The good news is there's still a few chances to pass around this Hidden Valley circuit.
So the pressure really on Ryle Harris now. All he has to do is drive a nice, clean, tidy lap, and the win should be his, but Cedars won't give up without a fight.
Turn 6, a huge passing opportunity. He blocks to the left. Cedars, can he get the crossover? He just takes that mid-corner speed off perfectly, doesn't he, Ryle Harris?
Yeah, so now he's really got to concentrate on a good run through turn 7. And if he can get a nice exit out of here, that's really probably it for Cedars, unless Harris makes a mistake, which I don't think he will because he's driven perfectly all weekend. So through all, Cedars raging up on the back of him now. So one final opportunity for Cedars to have a go into the last corner, but Harris, he's wise to it, defends his line.
He just took that shallow line through and did it well. The run to the checkered flag. 3 race wins this weekend, and for the 2nd year in a row, Ryle Harris is King of the North. Takes the checkered flag and a race win ahead of the man who's 2nd in the championship. 3 race wins in a weekend. It's something that he achieved before on the Gold Coast back in 2011. 3 out of 4 races, though, because there was the 4th race here this weekend. But what a fantastic result for the Tap Out Energy Ute, and let it all hang out.
So a bit of a celebratory drift for Harris there. Stephen White, he had a really solid weekend, coming home 5th in that final race. Ryan Hansford rounds out the top 10.
Elliot Barber, so strong all weekend, a 6th for him there. Chris Pither, hasn't he had a strong weekend? He was 4th in that final race. So Ryle Harris, what a great weekend. He finished 10 points clear of Kim Jane, his best result for the season. Pither there in the top 5 as well for the weekend. Kylie Kings with our race winner.
Ryle Harris, you've just showed him how it's done. A great weekend for you.
3 out of 4, you can't really complain about that. You know, we're leading the championship. We've just extended our lead.
And bring on Townsville.
Definitely bring on Townsville. Queensland, a home race. Obviously, Gold Coast is our home race, but yeah, I'll be going for it, doing it for the Queenslanders.
He has a very commanding lead now in the NZ Championship point score. Nathan Pretty was your championship leader after round 1. He's slowly falling away from the leaders. Elliot Barber all the way up into 6th. And good to see Kim Jane and Stephen White now breaking into the top 10. The SS Inductions Hard Charger Award goes to Jesse Dixon for his barnstorming drive in race number 2. He was certainly bashing and crashing his way through the field, but unfortunately drops outside the top 3 for our Yokohama rookie point score. Elliot Barber with a commanding lead over Adam Marjoram. The next time we see the Auto 1 V8 Utes protected by Armour All, we'll be up in Townsville, where it's still nice and sunny and warm in the middle of winter, 5th and 7th of July. You want to be up there to check that one out. Ryle Harris, once again, victorious in Darwin from Kim Jane and David Cedars. What a strong weekend for these 3. Fantastic racing and some big, heavy hits from the Auto 1 V8 Utes this weekend. From myself, Chad Naylon, a big thanks to James Moffat and the entire crew this weekend. It's been a busy one. There's been some carnage, some very big hits. We can't wait to see the Utes back on track once again.